morning to you, Kenyan citizens. Welcome. This is the Current Affairs segment. It is your trusted source for the latest news, insightful discussions, and impactful stories shaping our nation and beyond. I'm Angela Kabete, and together with Kimotho, we'll dive into the latest headlines and uncover the truth behind the news of what has been happening, that is, in our country and beyond. So make sure that you stay tuned as we break it down right here, right now. Kimotho, very good morning to you.
Good morning to
uhali gani?
Niko salama. Nashukuru.
Uko salama?
Yes.
Salimia watazamaji.
Nataka kuwasalimia na kuwakaribisha kwenye show ili tuweze kuangalia what has been happening to our nation. Karibuni.
Yeah, because the news stories each and every day, right?
Yeah.
But before anything else, it is always allowed to give you that is the verse of the day and encouragement for the day. Let's head over to the verse of the day, and it comes from that is Ecclesiastes 9:10, and I read, this is what it says. Whatever your hand finds to do, do with it. Whatever your hands find to do it with your might. For there is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you are going. This is a good verse, Mr. Kimotho. It means that, briefly, this is what it means. Life is a limited opportunity. So you're supposed to be grateful each and every day. So, hapo kwenye tuambia do it with might, it means that don't hold back, whether it's your gift, it's your job, it's your ministry, that thing that you're doing, or even your dream. Tuambia that give it all today. Do your best. Do it perfectly, because tomorrow is not promised, but today you can build, serve, and shine as well. And that's what we take on the verse of the day. What about you? Let's talk about that.
Life is a gift.
Yeah.
Use it very well. Don't limit yourself. Yeah.
What will exploit the opportunities that they have and everything.
Kabisa.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is the verse of the day. And now let's head over to what has been happening. I have the Daily Nation with me.
I have the Standard newspaper. And
on the Daily Nation, these are some of the highlights of what we'll be checking out today. I'll be checking, that is, the health sector, mambo ya organ trafficking, something that has been going on in our country. And then to Tangalia, that is matters to do with politics. And the people that we're going to check out today, that is Uhuru and Raila. And then we'll check the education sectors, matters to do with funding. And then we'll check matters to do with Kenya and Tanzania. So stay tuned. What about you, Mr. Kimotho?
Niko na mambo ya in a budget. Also have some issues to do with the court issues, other issues now to pia kuna mambo ya the government itself, kwa sababu kulikuwa na cabinet meeting na some of the resolution was ilikuwa pale among the other stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's start with the Daily Nation. That is page 1. From one of the highlights that I have read, I can see they're saying that cash crunch forces public schools to close early. I thought mashule zinafungwa mapema because it's something that they had planned. It's a different thing. What has to do with finance? And they're saying learners will have a longer holiday after schools shut down a week earlier, with teachers citing shortage of funds from the government. That story is in page 5. So where are we heading as a country, Mr. Kimotho?
Just as especially mambo ya shule, recently the CS that is our treasury alikuwa ameongea mambo ya wazazi wajiprepare just to be paying for their exam, na pia walikuwa wamesema the affordability of the government on a free funding model, na pia capitation imekuwa ikidelaywa. So those are some of the factors that we can also see ambazo zina contribute now to the head teachers, some of the principals wafunge mapema. Yeah.
But you mambo ya free education, so the president alipeana a different statement from what the CS alisema. What is not happening,
Unajua we are used to it, because kuna yule ambaye anasema hii, kuna yale ambaye anasema na English, kuna yale anasema na Kiswahili.
So
yanakuwa ni mambo tofauti sana, because kuna ile implementation ambayo inafanya na huwa inafanywa in English. Yeah, so unakuta kuna ile hadi saa zingine tunashinda now what is the way forward, but at the end of the day there is ile kitu ambayo walisema, that is what they mean. Yeah.
And that is in page 5. They say that education principal schools are struggling to pay for food, teaching materials, and settling employees' salaries. And they say that Education Cabinet Secretary blames situation on ongoing financial realignments. And this is what they are saying. The closure means that learners will be at home for a month instead of the scheduled 3 weeks. And they say lessons are expected to resume for the third term on August 25, according to the Secondary School Heads Association. And many institutions shut last week, with the remaining expected to do so by the end of today. And this is a statement. Schools are broke and the situation is dire. That statement will talk from Kesha chairperson Willie Okuria yesterday. And still Willie Okuria, this is what alisema, the chairperson. How are we expected to feed students and settle electricity and water bills without money? That is a question that he asked. In addition to that, that question, and said that we have been left with no option but to close early. So swali, uko sure hizi shule zitafunguliwa the expected time?
They'll have to be opened, but zitafunguliwa with a lot of struggle. So it is now upon the relevant persons ambao wako involved just to be prepared before afungwe, because wako na few weeks before afungwe wako wamekamilisha haya mambo yote. Yeah,
but you know this threatens the quality of education in schools, na pia it affect mwanafunzi pia, because if they're not fed in schools, mwanafunzi hatakuwa sawa.
There's some of the areas where the pupils go to school because there is food. Yeah. And because of due now to the harsh environment in those areas. So unaona pia ina attract. So kukiwa na other factors ambazo zitafanya hawa wazazi wa kwenda ugumu ya watoto kwenda shuleni, definitely kutakuwa na ile drop up ambayo itakuwa pale. Yeah.
They should check out this, because education imekuwa na crisis that is since January mpaka sai, and they have not sorted these issues, matters to do with funding, capitation and everything.
Nakumbuka tulisema tumewapea time, so they should use maximum well of the time ambayo tumewapatia ile ya kuweza kurekebisha haya mambo.
Okay, yeah. So I hope that they'll work out on this, because I can see Bedome Sekuria express skepticism, pointing to shortfall in term 1 and 2, and akasema there is no clarity as we head to the last term. The statement by the CS is not vague. We doubt it will be the full amount. We are drowning in debts. It is a cycle that will render schools bankrupt. That is what he added. Yeah.
Adeni lipwe.
Yeah, that is when it comes to what has to do with education. And pia tunataka kusikia maoni ya wananchi. Kama wewe ni mzazi ama mwanafunzi, maoni yako ni yapi on the crisis that we have been experiencing that is in our country when it comes to the education sector? Please talk to us on 0799200100. That is our WhatsApp number. And still pale kwa social media, that is on Facebook and YouTube at Mizpah Tv Kenya. Hashtag me NURU Current Affairs. Away from the education, what do you have there?
Kwa gazeti la Standard sitaanza na front page leo. Pale page 11 kulikuwa na cabinet meeting yesterday, and there were some of the resolutions that were passed. Cabinet moves to regulate church health sector as KPC sales get the note. So yesterday there was a cabinet meeting ambayo ilifanyika pale State House, and there are some of the resolutions that were passed. The cabinet has approved wide-reaching reforms that will bring the religious institution and health facilities under closer government oversight, and revive that is our efforts to partially privatize the Kenya pipeline, a major player in the energy that is a supply chain. So the decision was made yesterday during the cabinet meeting ambayo waliweza kuifanya jana. And unajua sasa kumekuwa na ile privatization of some of the government bodies ambazo hazijakuwa zikifanya kazi vizuri, so zinapatia a private company, na the private company inapatia, that is the target ambayo inafaa kukuwa nayo, because kumbuka now the Kenya pipeline is responsible for transportation and storage of petroleum products across Kenya and parts of the region. Despite being profitable and holding significant asset value, officials argue the company has not reached its potential due to bureaucracy, constraint ambazo zimekuwa pale. So unajua wakati such a company inakuwa privatized, wale ambao wamepatia hiyo kazi watakuwa, unajua kuna ile timeline watapatio, kuna zile goals na requirements watahitaji commit pale na mambo yale mengine. And this is not the first company ambayo imeweza kukuwa privatized. There are so many other ambazo zimeweza kuwa pale. And also still on the meeting, there was also now proposed reforms in plans to regulate, that is the churches, mosque, temples and other religious institution. An idea that has previously drawn that is opposition. The proposal came in the aftermath of the Shakahola tragedy, where more than 400 followers tunakumbuka ile kisanga ambayo ilikuwa pale. And you remember that this issue ilikuwa imeleta a lot of pia controversy wakati wa campaign. I remember the former prime minister wakati alikuwa anawania kiti cha president, alikuwa ameongelea some of this proposal. But kwa sababu ilikuwa campaign, the opposition vile walichukulia, walileta kwa wananchi na njia nyingine ambayo na wale ambao pia walikuwa wanapingana saa hiyo ilikuwa pia ni the current regime. So inaonekana ya kwamba pia nao venye wameingia wameona pia there is also a need to do that. So the key proposal include enacting, that is a legal framework to govern religious organization, establishing a religious affair, that is commission, and strengthening umbrella faith, that is organizations for coordination. The cabinet said the policy will establish multi-agency structure involving, that is security agencies, interfaith councils and education institutions to support implementation, while some religious leaders have voiced concern about the overreach. So the government insists that the move is not aimed to undermine the faith. This is not to attack on any religion. It's just now to bring them together. Na ndio maybe now kuwa na one voice. Unajua sasa wakati unaongelea mambo ya commission, tumekuwa na commission kama ya TSC, tumekuwa na other commissions ambazo zimekuwa pale. So now to them now they want now to consolidate. Unajua wakati kuna commission, it means that for example kama ile commission ya NAT, it means that anything that the commission decides, the others have to follow it. So unajua sasa most of the religious faith institutions wengi wako na different that is ideology, different rules na mambo yale mengine ambayo yako pale. So this is just now the effort to regulate the institution ambazo most of them wamekuwa kisafa, na pia kutakuwa na ile fresh, that is a registration, because kuna some of the institution bado pia hazijakuwa registered. Also another thing that was passed during that is yesterday on a cabinet meeting, the cabinet also endorsed a bill targeting what it called widespread that is abuse and poor regulations, that is in the Kenya health system. So the law proposes mandatory licenses, registration and accreditation over the health facility, public and private, and will subject them to regular inspection and identified quality, that is a quality framework. So kutakuwa na ile inspection ambayo itakuwa inafanyika pale kwa the healthcare facilities ambazo tuko nazo, na hapo wame specify on both, that is a public and also that is a private. And the bill seeks to eliminate systematic fraud, regulatory that is a loopholes, and conflict of interest that have long undermined healthcare delivery and public trust. So this is some of the issues ambao watakuwa naangalia, na watakuwa naangalia mambo ya qualification, watakuwa naangalia mambo ya license na pia mambo ya operation, watakuwa pia wanaangalia the the weaker enforcement issues ambazo zina revolve, that is the health system ambayo tuko nayo. Na kumbuke pia mambo ya the healthcare system tumekuwa na the issue of that is SHA ambayo imekuwa na issue. Pia at the same time kumekuwa na some of the issues ambazo tumekuwa tukiona, unakuta some of the hospitals wanakataa kushughulikia mgonjwa kwa sababu maybe familia hawajapata pesa, mambo yale mengine. Unakuta pia kuna some of the public hospitals wameshughulikia mgonjwa ameshapona, but wanakataa kumrelease kwa sababu hajaweza kulipa payment. Na pia at the same time tumekuwa tukiona that is kumekuwa na lack of professionalism in some of the hospitals. Unakuta ya kwamba saa zingine daktari anakuja wakati anataka, unakuta pia the nurses wanaongelesha watu vibaya na mambo yale mengine. Unakuta the facility zingine ni chafu, unakuta kuna sharing of bed, kuna mambo yale mengine, unakuta kuna mtu alienda operation wakaacha vitu zingine kule ndani au kufanya vizuri, kuna wengine wanakuja kazi wakiwa drunkard. Then at the same time pia tuliona some of the hospitals pia ziko na poor security system, CCTV hazifanyi kazi. So this is some of the regulation ambao walipitisha jana ya kwamba kutakuwa na hiyo that is a registration na pia supervision ya mambo kama hayo. So these are some of the resolutions that were passed yesterday. They should to do with the privatization of Kenya Pipeline Company, the issue to do with health, and also now the issue to do with regulation of religious institutions.
Okay, so let's say that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And now let's dive into politics. That is page 6 of the Daily Nation. We can see they're saying UDA and ODM marriage. Wow. Sasa finally wamekubali ilikuwa ndoa, Mr. Kimotho.
Did it still?
Okay, because I remember there is a politician that I don't want to mention, alisema that kuna flower girl kwa in marriage.
Yeah.
Na kumtaja ni nani.
Yeah, kusema ni nani.
Yeah, so I can see they say that UDM and ODM marriage Central Management Committee agrees to support a decision to work with President Ruto. So is the marriage the broad-based government ama ni gani? Because they say stormy meeting as Raila sets up to meet up team to review a Ruto deal. And they're saying that a meeting by the top organ of the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, has resolved to form a technical team to review the agreement between the party leader, Raila Odinga, and the President, William Ruto. That is what they are saying. And in addition to that, bado wanasema that the ODM Central Management Committee also agreed to back Mr. Odinga in his decision to work with President Ruto under the broad-based government arrangement, and the announcement sought to end confusion over the party's stance in working with President Ruto following a declaration of by the Secretary General Edwin Sifuna that the deal was dead over continued violation of human rights, including abductions that has been happening, that is in our country, and police killings by Kenya Kwanza administration. So wamepanga meeting, Mr. Kimotho.
Naona hapa pia kwa gazeti la Standard nasema Raila applies pressure on Ruto to implement that is the broad-based MOU. And you know that this one has come out of the pressure because the Secretary General of ODM, that is Edwin Sifuna, tumekuwa tukiona he has been on the forefront criticizing the government for not following the agendas ambayo the 10-point key agendas ambazo walikuwa wamesign pale. So he has always been criticizing them, even in front of his party leader. Amekuwa akifanya hivyo. He has also been seen on the local televisions and also on the social media, because na yeye alikuwa anasema lazima aseme ukweli na ukweli wa mambo. And actually yesterday he was pressured in speaking out of all this ambayo alikuwa anaongea pale, because ungeangalia hata facial expression yake venye alikuwa ni kama kitu ambaye he was forced to do that. But unajua pia kuna kuwa na ile exit that is a plan. You pressure too much so that now the other party cannot be able to handle, or the other party can be seen that imeshindwa ku handle what you had agreed for you now to be able now to come out of it. So now this is not the first time that this broad-based MOU imekuwa imekuwa ikipatia a lot of pressure ndio waweze kuimplement, because now that is a ODM wanapeana pressure and now the UDA waweze kufanya mambo yale mengine. So the committee did not specify actions to be taken if UDA went back on the MOU, which Sifuna says the ODM supports Raila decision to work with the ruling administration to establish the country and create an enabling environment for Kenyans to address their concern through that is their democratic right and constitution means. So kiangalia bado pale haikuwa so much clear on what will happen, but how on a pressure that pia na some of the 10-point agenda among them kulikuwa na ile kitu ilikuwa inaitwa NURU report. The NURU report ilitengenezwa wakati that is kulikuwa na ile msukosuko ambao ulikuwa pale between the opposition and the government, and kulikuwa na some of the key issues ambazo zilikuwa pale. kulikuwa na kama the audit of the 2022 electoral process and addressing the cost of living, na ukiangalia hiyo ni mambo ambayo bado ina affect the Kenyans, na pia kulikuwa na great concern promotion and protection of livelihoods of the young people, na hii ndio kitu ambayo the SG wa ODM amekuwa kicriticize sana, kwa sababu hapo ndio tumekuwa tukiona kuna abductions, kuna pia killings ambazo tumekuwa tukiona pale. So those are some of the things ambazo they are still putting pressure on the government to implement.
Okay, so let's see after this meeting what the broad-based government will do to the Kenyan citizens.
But unajua it's very hard for them because now wao wamekuwa expert in opposition. Sasa wamekuwa sasa now they are inside now the same government ambao wanajaribu kufanya nini. And remember there are some of the CS ambao wametoka from the ODM party ambao wamepatia key ministry kama John Badi. Na ukiangalia hii ministry yake imekuwa na a lot of queries, na imekuwa kuna decision ambazo Badi anafanya zinaleta a lot of criticism to the nation. So unajua ina return back now to kwa sababu huyu mtu ni ODM. So kuna a lot of pressure ambao wako nayo, and I know they are still going to do a lot of pressure to them until haya mambo yaonekane. Na ukumbuke the other time wakati the former prime minister alitoa statement, yeye aliongea mambo ya dialogue. So we are still waiting to see what now will happen to that.
Okay. But you know, it feels like the opposition, they have not been effective, that is since they joined the broad-based government. They have not. Watu wenye wamekuwa keep the government in check ni akina Rigathi Gachagua.
Unajua sasa nao ni self-proclaimed opposition. They hawajapata ile the fully mandate to it, because the opposition according now to the normal formality yenye tunajua ni yule mtu alienda kwa debe haku gain the votes kama yule mshindi wake mwingine. Na ukiangalia now the former prime minister anakuwa na ile pool the pool vote ambayo anakuwa nazo. That's unaona kuna msukosuko, hata kama hawa ambao wanasema ni opposition, hata wakiongea their voice
is not that loud. Okay. And still matters to do with the politics, that is on page 7. They're saying that movers and shakers, analysts says families that have mastered the colonial playbook using political power to amass and protect their wealth. And watu wenye wako hapa, that is the Jubilee Party leader Uhuru Kenyatta, and then we have the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and KANU leader Gideon Moi. They're saying that Kenya's prominent political families, the Kenyattas, the Mois and the Odingas, was scrambling to reassert warning influence their political survival threatened by shifting alliances in the lead up to the 2027 elections. And they're saying that the Kenyattas and the Odingas are also grappling with the uncertain future at the new political order led by President William Ruto and the vicious opposition steered by the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and the Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka tightens the grip on the nation's politics. So what will happen to them?
I don't know what will happen, but kuna zile system tunapatana tumeishi tukipata zikiwa pale, and tukijaribu ku revolve in terms of their wealth, in terms of their political that is a strength ama political history yao, inakuwa ni ngumu, because hizi ni familia ambazo ziko na usemi sana to our nation. Yes,
because I can see they're saying that retired President Uhuru Kenyatta has resisted efforts to dethrone him from the helm of the Jubilee Party, while the Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga is at a crossroads with his party divided over his deal to support President Ruto. So we don't know what will happen to them. Wacha tungoje kwanza siku ikienda kukaribia siku za campaign.
But politics is all about interest.
It's all about interest?
It's all about interest.
Okay.
Hiyo ndio kitu watu wanasahau. It is all about interest.
So it all interest.
Both personal and both of the community and both of the party influence ambayo uko nayo. Hakuna mtu anaweza afanya tu mambo tu hivyo hivyo. Even the broad-based government, kuna a lot of other interests that are there. Yes.
Can you say that's why one of the political leaders alikuwa anasema that this broad-based government is a marriage that involves love but less Kenyans, you know? Definitely,
because hata ukiangalia whatever now has been happening, because for example, kama tangu the broad-based government waingie into government, what has they nini wameachieve.
Even the peace itself yenye walikuwa wanasema.
Tumekuwa tukiona kuna more abductions, kuna more killings, kuna yani kuna mambo mengi ambayo yanafanyika. So inamaanisha hata kujoin hakuna effect ambayo imekuwa pale. And yet we remember tulikuwa tumeambia hawa ni expert ambao wameletwa kuweza kusaidia the government now to be able now to implement what is needed. So we can actually see.
And it feels like hapa wakisema that these three dynasties, that is the Jubilee Party, Uhuru Kenyatta, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and KANU leader Gideon Moi, kwa hivyo them being in power, it enabled them to protect their wealth.
Not only them, yes.
Kuna wengine
and so many
kuna wengine.
Our two is just a few ambao wana represent wale wengine ambao wako pale.
Kwa hivyo ni wengi sana.
Yes. If the research was to be done, utaangalia ni wengi sana.
Okay.
Yes.
And away from the issue there?
Kuna now the issue ambayo pia ilikuwa hapa on the top story. Na naona gazeti ya Standard imetoa jina nyingine kali sana, mortgaging Kenyans. Na naona hapa that is on page 4 Standard. Naona wameangazia that is the National Treasury and Economic Planning Cabinet Secretary, that is John Bahati. Government's uses of taxes as collateral could sink the country. So there are fears that Kenya's development is now doomed by reckless borrowing, with economic expert and opposition that is raising concern that the future generation will be forced to shoulder a huge loan burden. So now hapo wanapeana that wanasema the government has especially come under heavy criticism following its new that is a securitization model where it is borrowing using future tax revenue as collateral, which some analysts acute to mortgaging the country's asset. This includes the ongoing, that is a 444.7 billion bond issued to fund the construction of the Talanta Sport Stadium, and planning, that is a borrowing up to 175 billion against the part of the fuel levy that we have been having. So what the expert says, ambao wanasema wakiongozwa na mtu mmoja anaitwa Bernard, he's a certified fraud examiner, they're saying that this borrowing inakuwa borrowed against now the future revenue that we have. Means that kuna hizi projection ambao zinakuwa zinafanywa, that is wakati tunatengeneza our budget, that is kama unaangalia the last financial year, this financial year, then wanafanya projection of the revenue stream ambazo tunapata pale. So wakati wanafanya borrowing of some of this money, inasemekana ya kwamba now they are borrowing now against now our future revenues ambayo tuko nayo. So meaning is that in a day, coming days kutakuwa bado na deficit, kwa sababu tutakuwa kila mwaka tukienda bado kuna yale madeni ambayo tunadaiwa. Then at the same time kuna ile some of these debts inakuwa so much, because ukiangalia sasa kama saizi kuna hiyo that is the 44.7 billion ambayo ilitumika now for the construction of that is the Talanta Sport Stadium, among the so many other projects ambazo tumekuwa that is tukifanya. And na pia ukiangalia wanasema that is now according now to our gross domestic that is a product, the GDP, the law requires that it should be sustainable level, which means you are capable of paying that loan. So are we capable of paying this loan wakati wanafanya borrowing? Na the Kenya that is a debt stood at 11.5 trillion this year, na imeongezeka that is by 32.9%, tangu now the regime ichukua uongozi wao. So ukiangalia bado madeni yanaendelea kuongezeka. Now the question is ni nani ambaye atakuwa kilipa haya madeni, because unajua zinarika, kuna madeni ambayo yamekuwa kirika from this regime to another, from this regime to another. So something needs to be done. That's when our expert wanaongea hapa, wanasema that is kuna some of the regulations that needs to be done na needs to be addressed, ili tuweze tunachukua loan ambayo tunajua tutaweza kulipa na inakuwa utilized very well. Because kama hii Talanta Stadium unajua kuna pesa ilikuwa imepeanwa hapa kuongezewa.
Okay, as I was saying, kwanza hapo kwenye mention kwa utilization, that's another thing.
Na wakuja wafunze hii maneno hii. Wakuja watch Money Monday. Wafunze jinsi ya kuutilize kile ambacho tuko nacho.
Yeah, because I think that is Kenyans hawana shida na kulipa tax, Mr. Kimotho, in the lipe loan. It's because they don't see the impact of that money. That's why.
And pia unaona just kuna misuse na extravagant ya mambo ambayo tunaona it is too much.
Okay.
Yes.
And on other stories, that is page 1 of the Daily Nation. Among the highlights that I had read earlier, they say intention. Critics say Dodoma's policy runs counter to provisions of East Africa Community Treaty. And Tanzania jobs ban hits Kenyans hard. Dodoma's move to bear foreigners from selecting businesses in the country will affect thousands of Kenya, with the Suluhu regime sanction infuriating local traders and MPs who have asked Nairobi to impose the retaliatory measures. That story is in page 4. And let's head over to page 4. This is what they're saying. Lawmakers and business leaders in Kenya are protesting the latest roadblock erected by Tanzania, barring foreigners from accessing its market in a bid to shield local businesses. The Kenyans have criticized the move as a running counter to the East Africa Community Treaty, and they said the new regulations are not only another unnecessary non-tariff barrier, but also a fly in the face of the common market protocol. And still on that, these are some of the things that the foreigners have been banned from doing. The government has restricted foreigners from offering domestic services, office services, environmental and cleaning services, or postal and local parcel delivery services. Another thing, foreigners are also prohibited from acting as brokers, that's one thing, or agents in businesses and real estate transactions, gambling operations outside the licensed casinos. So what will happen to the Kenyan citizens? When you wako walitoka Kenya wakaenda Tanzania because of jobs, and these are the common things that anybody can do. Na hizo ndio ban the foreigners from doing. What will happen to those people who are in Tanzania, the foreigners?
I think kuna ile the East African, that is a community, that is a MOU ama regulation ambayo iko pale, because unajua sasa kama East African kuna yale mambo ambayo waliweza kuzungumzia, na pia tuko na the East African Parliament. So these are some of the things ambayo inafanya ndio iongelewe pale, because it's very unfair. That is kama hiyo nation ban some of the things ambazo inaona ndio foreigners wanafanya. Wanafaa kuwe na more regulation, because if each and every nation wanaweza fanya hiyo, inamaanisha sasa inaondoa unajua kuna ile inter-economic that is activity from one nation to another. So already ina affect, because kuna yule ambaye ameinvest, kuna yule ambaye amechukua hilo ndio hiyo kazi iweze kuendelea pale. So inamaanisha ni kama tu unamfukuza tu, ni kama njia kumwambia wewe sasa toka kwa hii nchi yetu, lakini humwambii direct, because wakati kuna some of these regulation unakuja tu unazifanya tu kwa hiyo tu njia ambayo wamefanya, but something needs to be done. Kama kuna sheria maybe wamefanya ambayo hawakutimiza, ama kuna kanuni fulani ambazo walifanya haikufaa pale, because pia hao ni wanabiashara, na pia kuna uhusiano from one nation to another. Yes.
And according to statistics, we have over approximately 40,000 Kenyans who work in Tanzania. Watu ni wengi sana.
Yes.
So according to statistics, this is how it's going to affect Kenyans. Thousands of Kenyans who had moved to Tanzania to work in various sectors, now they are at a risk of losing, that is, their livelihoods. And then also the ban violates the East Africa Community Treaty, which promotes, that is, free movement of labor and businesses across the member of states, that is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, and South Sudan. So I don't know if still Kenya pia wata react towards that, Mr. Kimotho, we don't know, because probably pia Kenya is a restrictions, but you don't know how they react towards this. We're yet to see.
Unajua in some years we saw what happened one day in one of the nation, wakati kulikuwa na some of the regulations na ikatarget a certain people, na tuliona the economic vile iliweza kuenda. So but we are hoping that the concerned persons, especially pia the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, also the ministry ambayo inahusikana na mambo ya biashara, wanafaa waangalie haya maneno, na pia wale wabunge ambao wanakuwa kwele the East African Parliament, they are also supposed to address some of these issues, ndio mambo yakuwe yako sawa, because kile nchi kifanya hivyo inamaanisha sasa sisi wenyewe tu ndio tunajipiga, and yet we as a African nation we are supposed to empower ourselves, because zile vitu ambazo tuko nazo they are readily available around us.
Okay. Yeah. In addition to that, this came from the Tanzanian government. They claims that the move is to protect the local businesses that they have that is in their country and reduce unemployment among their citizens. So probably this is also a way of them protecting their own, you know.
Ni sawa tu, but pia wanafaa pia waifanye vizuri, you know, because unajua pia unafaa consider the other person, because huyu mtu amekaa hajafanya biashara kwa mwaka moja, fanya kwa miaka kadhaa pale, so lazima pia waweze consider now the other person.
Yeah, I agree. We have that is 2 minutes. What do you have there as we wind up?
Kuna masuala ya sports. That is ninaona hapa kuna zile fixtures ambazo unajua kuna ile the African Nation Championship ambayo itafanyika, that is in our nation, na pia in other neighboring nation, na pia ninaona hapa that is on Sunday, that is tarehe 3 Kenya watachuana na that is DRC Congo. Pia kuna Thursday naona hapa pia Angola versus Kenya, na that is pia naona hapa bado kutakuwa na Kenya versus Morocco, na pia kutakuwa na Zambia versus Kenya. So those are some of the fixtures ambazo inajua watu wengi wataenda, and let us also go and give support to our that is to you know kwa hii kwa our star, and especially size inafanyika hapa kwetu.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you have to tell the viewers?
Just to tell them that just to you know love each other and take care of our nation and wakuwe na siku njema yenye baraka.
Yeah. For our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. But before anything else, just a reminder that we'll be having that is the Mizpah School of Intercessory Prayer and Deliverance that will be happening at Mizpah Prayer Center. That is on August. That is this coming August. From that is 11th to the 22nd. Intake is ongoing. This way, I'll be having that is 4 modules. Module 1 tafundishwa mambo ya deliverance from bondages and curses. Module 2 will be taught on altars. At least as a Christian, you're able to differentiate between the godly and ungodly altars. Then module 3, you're taught on the spiritual warfare. And then module 4, you'll be taught that is the new creation lifestyle, on how you are supposed to live as a Christian after you have been delivered. For more information, please contact 0727766553. And also just a reminder that we'll be having that is the interdenominational prayer rally that will be hosted, that is by Bahati and Subukia Sub-Counties Pastors Fellowship. That will be happening this Saturday. It will be 2nd of August. Itakuwa inaanza, that is from 9 a.m. And the good thing is free and open to all churches and believers. So make sure that you tell a friend to tell a friend. For more information, contact that is 0711395570. I'll be so glad to have you. Don't forget, this segment has been sponsored by Stark Institute and Driving School. The courses that they offer, that is ICT, hospitality courses, driving courses, and ICT. They have various branches in Nakuru County, but the main campus is in Njoro Town on the Egerton Njoro Road. If you're interested, please visit their website on www.starkinstitute.ac.ke and register online to get a 10% discount. Still, you can use their email, that is info@starkinstitute.ac.ke. My name is Angela Kabete. Till next time, bye-bye.